Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from a sort of interesting life.com. You're joining me on board good old narrowboat Tilly, and today I am finally getting around to doing a proper diary, journal, organiser, plan video for my general setup and ideas for 2016. This is a video that I've had a lot of requests to do, as it's been quite a while since I've done any of these sort of videos, and hopefully just by holding up this stuff here that will start to satisfy some of the demand and comments and requests for one of these videos. So then, let's get straight in. Now, many of you who've been watching these videos for a long time will know that for the last few years I've been using this, a Midori Traveller's Notebook, as a wallet, as a diary and journal, all sorts of different things, and I've had different inserts over time. And basically, if I open this up and show you the inside, you can see I've got my cross-century classic pen there, one of my favourite pens ever, although I'm thinking I may well get one of the chrome silver ones, just because it's a little bit more minimalist, and I've been seeing them quite cheap on Amazon, sort of £10–12, and I'm a big fan of pens and paper, and we won't get into the writing elements as that's another video that I'm going to be doing any second. I've in fact, for my writing video, got the actual original printed manuscript of my latest book, The Narrowboat Diaries, out now. Right, shameless plugs aside, you can see, as I say, I use this as a wallet. So on the inside it's got one of these Midori plastic wallet inserts, so you've got a space to put cards in, and obviously a back pocket there with a little zip lock. So that's all straightforward and simple. Inside this as well, I normally have one notebook that I use as a diary and journal, and also one of these paper craft files, which you can see I keep, wow, a whopping £15 in there at the minute. And so basically that again ties in with using this as a wallet and carrying it with me everywhere, all the time, practically every day. Well, I do pretty much use this every single day, and you can see, well, you can't actually see quite as well in this lighting condition, unfortunately, but this over the years has got very battered and bruised and scraped and looks well travelled now, so I'm a big fan of that overall look. Now, this year, I've decided that the little notebook that I keep in there, I am going to use only as a diary or journal for sketches, for doing little drawings and little pencil and pen drawings, a little bit of watercolour, which I'm a huge fan of doing. Don't do it nearly as much as I should do, but I'm hoping this year, by going, right, I'm going to carry that with me everywhere, and I'm going to take little sketches and so on, as and when I feel like it. And so I have got, for this year, an insert to there. My apologies, I've got so many notebooks and stuff at the side here. What I'm going to use, rather than a Midori insert, you can see this was my original Traveller's Star Edition notebook that came with it. And, well, yeah, we won't get into that. But basically, it's passport size, and just slightly taller than these standard inserts are the Field Notes standard notebooks, and also the Moleskine, I believe this the Kaye size. But basically, you can see that it's pretty much exactly identical to the actual same size as the Field Notes ones, which are only very slightly taller than the passport size Midori inserts, or the Scout Books inserts as well, the little notebooks that I've used from them. Again, I'll post links in the description to a few different videos showing the different notebooks that I've got, a ridiculous collection. But you can see they're just slightly taller, so when you insert these into the Midori, they just stick out from the actual cover a couple of millimetres. So I'm not sure whether I am going to just use a guillotine or even scissors to carefully strip just a little strip away so that they fit nice and snugly inside the leather, or whether I'm going to leave it, because I've seen a lot of people who like to leave them as just sticking out slightly and getting a bit more tatty and worn, and again, all that traveller's sort of notebook culture, like, oh, look at this, it's outdoors, it's been worn around and torn apart and all that sort of stuff. And what I'm going to do basically is just use some of these plain notebooks that I've already got, rather than buy more inserts, and be a little bit more economical and sensible, and use these as my inserts for sketching and little paintings and stuff like that. So that's the stuff that's actually going to be with me and on me all the time. I suppose we should move on to, if I'm not writing diaries and journals in there, then I need something else. And because I enjoy writing these little diary entries and journals, whatever you want to, like, I always describe it as Dear Diary style things, but some people think of diaries as that sort of, today I did this, this and this. Other people think of it as, this is the planning sort of business thing where I go, right, I'm having that meeting there, I'm doing this here, I'm working these hours then. And basically, for my Dear Diary style writing and record keeping, I have got this. Now, this is a Fabriano notebook. There's a name that you don't hear very often. And basically, this is just a straight up cardboard cover lined notebook. I won't show you the first pages and spoil what I've already written, because who knows where it may end up. But you can see on the inside, straight up, just straight across, lines, lines, lines. Nothing major to mention or really note or talk about here. But this is what I'm going to use as my simple, straightforward writing, sitting down at the end of the day at the desk with the lights on and the fire going and writing about things that I think are worth noting for future reference. So that's going to be my whole general diary and sketching and, as I say, my recreational use of notebooks, if that's a ridiculous term to use or not. So, on to the more straightforward, business, sensible, right, this is it, I've got to be a grown-up with some notebooks. So, when it comes to keeping records of moving the boat and generally, I don't know, hours I'm working, if I'm meeting friends and the actual sort of planning, practical side of organisers and that, I've decided this year, as I used to have one of those little Midori notebooks with a month-to-view calendar on this type of layout, I've decided I'm just going to try a few different paper styles that I put together and create myself to have just the straight-up month-to-view calendars. I've looked in shops for the cheap little calendars that are like this, but I've found that they haven't really got the space that I want, and because I end up writing a lot of little extra bits that will probably go in a list here and then have arrows pointing to the different days, that's really what I wanted to achieve by doing it myself just on a piece of plain A4 paper. So this is basically going to be like January the 1st, we'll have like boat trip and did this then and meet whoever and I don't know, all these different things. Like it'll have my work hours on here, moving the boat, anything such as, I don't know, record keeping that I want to just keep for interest's sake. So for example, had my haircut this day and then about 18 months later had my haircut again, and you get the general gist. So that's the first thing in that sort of actual practical usage. Equally, I've got this absolutely wonderful notebook here, which I'll post again a link in the description to my proper full video on this, as somebody sent me this. It's just absolutely beautiful notebook. It's had 4 inserts originally. One of them I've got out that I'm using, which isn't actually to hand. And basically, this is what I'm going to use for my video planning, making notes for things that I want to say or mention, or lists, or basically, because these are, if we open up, because these are squared pieces of paper as well, makes them very handy for planning different things and doing, well, anything that needs straight lines to actually, well, work around. For example, if I'm trying to draw a layout of the boat, that sort of stuff, like a dot grid usage almost. Anyway, so that is the other section there, folks. I just needed to take a little drink break. So, as I say, that's generally the notebooks that I'm going to be using. The paper for a month-to-view planner, the squared notebooks in this epic, huge notebook as general writing things. What do I need to remember? What do I want to do when I'm planning videos? That sort of practical usage. The Midori for drawing and as my day-to-day wallet and general everyday carry item. Then on top of that, the Fabriano journal and notebook as my actual Dear Diary style notebook. And I suppose we'll just have a section now. Well, a section, that makes this sound very official. 1 second as I turn my back to you, very rude, my apologies. But if I grab just a couple of my favourite bits from the front here, we have got my little Cotman Colours very small pocket watercolour set, which I'll be using in the Midori. Then I've got one of my favourite pens that goes along with the Cross Classic Century that I just showed you. This is a Lamy Vista, which is basically the Lamy Safari fountain pen, but with a see-through case. and you can see on the inside I've got some green ink in there, and this is one of the twist piston cartridges, so that I'm a huge fan of, and that's probably what I'll be writing a lot of my Fabriano journal entries with. And then to go with the Cotman Colours, the little watercolour set, I absolutely love these little water brush devices, where you basically just fill that section up with water, and then I've got just a nice constant water supply going to the very fine brush at the tip there. So those are just some of the things that I'll be using, and some of the things that, as I say, I can't explain to you how much I love this pen. And I could easily, in a different world, and if I lived back at me mum's house or anything like that, with all the room and everything, I could easily see myself ending up getting a bit carried away and collecting loads and loads of these. So that's the general overall paper-based thing. The only other thing I'll say throwing into that is, on my phone or iPad, whatever you want to use, I have got the Todoist app. I've got Evernote obviously as well, which I try and use for more sort of documents that I want to save and have access to anywhere. But the Todoist app is about as simple a thing. I can't really get this in focus, I'm assuming. Can I? Ah, there we go. This is just as simple as you would expect. Straight up to-do lists and notes. So whether that is, fetch me back into the light. Oh, not that light, that's a bit much. There we go. That's better. So that's basically just an app for making lists. And there's a few different things, and I'd say that you can get that app for free, and it's my favourite layout. But the actual paid version is something like about, I don't know how much, but it's a lot of money on a yearly subscription. I've disappeared into the darkness again. Right. But you get the general gist with that. It's just a straight up list making app, and you can have it synced across, obviously, between your different iDevices and Mac and that sort of thing. So that's very handy. It's a shame that the paid version is so much and on a subscription, because I'm a huge believer in that if you find something that's good and useful and somebody's taken time to create, then you should support that. And that's why things like when I've used the Strava cycling app and that, I've actually signed up for a month or two on the paid subscription every now and then, just to basically go, look, I've used this and thoroughly enjoyed it many times, and for the last year or 2 years even. So I think you deserve something in return for that. But again, it's all about, I suppose, the basic free market economy. So that's so to wrap things up, because I was getting way off topic and into a tangent all of its own video there, I will say thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this random look at some of the notebooks and what I'll be using them for over 2016. And again, I find it absolutely fascinating that anybody would be interested whatsoever. But at the same time, I've looked at plenty of these videos as well myself, so I do get it at the same time. Anyway, please do consider checking out my other videos. You'll find all sorts of notebook stuff in some of the older videos too, but loads of boat life and the great outdoors in general. Feel free also to add me on Facebook and Twitter, that sort of stuff, for loads of boaty pictures and canal scenery. And if you would really like to, then please do consider checking out my short Kindle books about life on board Tilly. You'll find links to them in the description below, but please do search for something like the Narrowboat Diaries, which is my current new series of 2 books at the moment, as the first volume is very much based on what's in these diaries and stuff, as it is literally called A Narrowboat and a Notebook. So that might be just up your street if notebooks and diaries are your sort of thing. Anyway, until the next time, have a fantastic day, keep it paper based, keep it boat worthy, and of course, farewell.